Yeah, but my dad got out of copping and then became a food broker, which we're like, come on, that's
What?
CIA, right?
Yes.
And he's like, no, I really am a middleman for jars of jam.
He works for Meghan Markle. Really
dad-
tiny jams, harvestable jam made from the oils of Montecito.
Said, let us have an end to this debate about what makes a good man and be one.
There you go.
You can use that.
Good knowledge.
You can use that. That's the part. That's the part we're editing out of this interview. Boy, right there. All right.
Very
Unlike
similar
what?
to this experience.
Unlike what?
That's all right. You can carry on. You were doing great. You were doing great.
No, you're doing great.
Conan O'Brien just threw a clean punch at Meghan Markle's fancy jam launch, and it looked effortless. Meghan had unveiled her glossy American Riviera orchard jam like she was stepping into Martha Stewart's lane. Shiny labels, dreamy branding, the whole picture-perfect setup, and Conan sliced through it with one cold, perfect line. That joke landed smooth, like he'd been waiting for that moment forever, and it wasn't even his boldest move. Back when Meghan and Harry were still fresh from their big Oprah interview, Conan went all in during the aftermath. No filters, no mercy, just straight up fire. His timing, tone, and delivery were brutal. No soft edges, no sympathy, just raw comedy that cut deep. Conan even ran a full segment clowning their wax figures at Madame Tussauds. Not a quick jab, but a full-on roast. He joked about how stiff and lifeless the figures looked, how awkwardly they were placed, and then he took it a step further. He introduced a so-called museum worker claiming the figures got pushed to the back, like forgotten extras nobody wanted to see. That image alone was savage. It stuck in people's minds instantly. But then came the wild twist. Conan made up a fictional character joking about doing strange, over-the-top things with their wax statues. It was weird, uncomfortable, and hilarious all at once. The kind of comedy that burns itself into your brain. Once that mental picture hit the public, some folks couldn't look at Meghan and Harry the same way again. But then, the vibe turned darker.
I think Harry is a f***ing twat. Like, my life was so hard. Everybody's f***ing life is hard.
Yeah,
you were
that's
the prince of a goddamn country who dressed up as a f***ing Nazi, and now you're trying to come back as the Pope? Suck it.
Damn!
Comedian Jimmy Carr dropped a wild what-if that made people uneasy. He brought up a dark scenario involving King Charles and even mentioned tragic possibilities around Prince William and Catherine. The idea that if something terrible happened, Harry and Meghan could end up closer to the throne. It was just a twisted hypothetical, but it hit nerves fast and deep. Before that clip even stopped trending, the whole conversation blew up again. This time, thanks to the Osbornes. Kelly Osborne didn't hold back for a second, calling Harry a twat live on TV. That bold moment said a lot about how much public respect has shifted. A few years ago, saying something like that about a royal would have been unthinkable. But Kelly's bigger point cut way deeper. She said Netflix didn't block them, Spotify didn't hold them back. They had every opportunity, massive deals, giant budgets, elite production crews, and worldwide attention. Yet they still couldn't deliver. Critics argued it wasn't sabotage, it was the content.
Meghan Markle is, of course, a lifelong feminist, which she's demonstrated by marrying a prince and giving up her job.
I think he's a twat. He's a whining, whinging, complaining, woe is me, I'm the only one that's ever had mental problems.
When the hype is sky high and the results feel empty, people notice fast. Then Sharon Osbourne jumped in. And when Sharon speaks, it hits sharp. She fired back at Meghan's claim about feeling like she was in medieval times when meeting the Queen, calling it dramatic and unfair. That comment set off a storm online, with many saying Meghan exaggerated the experience. Even body language experts joined the conversation again. They pointed to the couple's constant hand-holding and affection in public, suggesting it sometimes looked staged. Their argument? Confident couples don't need to prove closeness every second. Fair or not, that theory keeps the debate alive and fiery. What makes this all even more loaded is Harry's past. He grew up in the chaos of royal media scandals. He saw everything when his parents' marriage fell apart under public scrutiny. He knows how brutal that spotlight can get.
Well, what's brilliant about what she's doing is she knows people want to spend money, and spending money makes them feel like they're getting something that's better, even though it might not necessarily be true.
You're goddamn right.
You can tell when you watch the show, she thinks just we're all animals, and we're all just kind of pigs in the mud, and that she's helping us with jam and honey.
Yet now, critics say he's not running from it anymore. He's feeding it, becoming part of the media machine himself. And here's the uncomfortable part. People whisper that their whole brand survives off royal drama. If public interest in the royal family fades, what happens to their spotlight? Without the tension, the fame starts to dim fast. The controversy keeps their name alive, but long-term, that weight could hit hard. Each rebrand gets louder than the last. New projects, new logos, new launches. Yet the same questions keep spinning around. The pressure's not slowing down, it's growing heavier by the day. Royal life didn't work out. Hollywood production fizzled. The big podcast deal collapsed. So what's left? A lifestyle brand? Polo documentaries? Every move feels like they're slamming that reset button again. Critics say the real problem runs deep. The whole brand was built on a victim storyline, and people are tired of it. Audiences don't want to hear the same struggle speech on repeat anymore.
You've been handed the world and every major contract, you had podcasts, you have all of this, and you didn't deliver because there's
nothing to deliver.
Yeah, because you don't have it. And that's okay. And I think they do have a right to privacy, but that doesn't seem to me what they're looking for.
Sharon Osbourne, who's watched Hollywood rise and crash for decades, pointed out how some couples thrive on chaos. They need the drama to stay talked about. That formula might catch fire at first, but it burns out fast, every single time. The question isn't if it all falls apart, it's when. Meanwhile, the royal family stays locked behind tradition. Protocol keeps their lips sealed. They can't defend themselves without looking bitter or dramatic. The monarchy can't drop reaction videos or jump into interviews to fire back. Their silence becomes the only weapon they've got. Most families handle their mess privately, not on streaming platforms for the world to binge. They don't publish explosive memoirs like Spare. They don't sign multi-million-dollar Netflix deals to unpack every argument. They don't spill family secrets on Oprah Winfrey's couch. Regular folks deal with their problems quietly. But let's be real, private peace doesn't pay for a Montecito mansion. Then Sharon brought up her own past, flipping the whole tone. She spoke about cutting ties with her father, betrayal, money fights, deep emotional damage. Yet, when it truly mattered, she made peace. That confession hit different. It made people pause and ask, what's Meghan's real breaking point? Especially knowing her father, Thomas Markle, reportedly staged photos and spoke to the press. That's what sparked the full-on fallout. He didn't steal her money, didn't wreck her career, didn't commit any crimes, he embarrassed her publicly. And from that moment, their relationship completely collapsed.
Bring it to the public. Nobody wants to know about it. Every family has problems. Keep it to yourself. Should she go to her father? Yes, she should. I didn't talk to my father for 18 years. He used me in his companies and...
Critics said her reaction felt way too intense for what actually happened, like the punishment didn't match the mistake. But the backlash didn't stay quiet for long. After the Osbornes spoke out, Hollywood jumped in fast, especially at the Golden Globes. Comedian Joe Coy came swinging with razor-sharp jokes about Harry and Meghan's media empire, and the whole crowd froze up. Nervous laughter, side glances, the kind of energy where everyone's wondering who'll react first. It was bold, risky, and it landed. He hit straight at the biggest controversy, that monster Netflix deal worth millions, sky-high expectations, and a final product that left people wanting more. Critics said the whole thing leaned too hard on royal complaints without delivering any real depth or originality. Joe Coy didn't hold back or whisper about it. He said it loud, right there on stage, while the cameras rolled. You could see celebrities trying not to laugh too hard or look too uncomfortable. But that tension said everything. The public mood is changing fast. Sympathy doesn't last forever, and once patience runs out, the spotlight turns brutal. Because deep down, people feel it's all too real.
They want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want it.
Then Family Guy took it to another level. Not a tiny jab, but a full-on savage animated scene roasting Harry and Meghan from top to bottom. And when a show that's been around for decades decides to mock you that hard, it means the jokes become mainstream. They went from royal glamour to viral meme faster than almost anyone in modern fame. And the wildest part? They played a big part in making it happen. Millions in contracts, endless deals, and barely their results, all while complaining non-stop. That's comedy gold for late-night hosts, and wow, they've been eating it up. Cartoons don't hold back. They don't care about PR, spin, or who gets offended. They just blast out the truth in bold colors, no filter, no mercy. And that truth hits hard. These two aren't victims. They're millionaires with royal titles, cashing in on brand deals and polished Instagram posts while claiming they had to escape the palace. The only thing they really left behind were the royal rules and duties. They wanted all: fame, fortune, royal status, and sympathy. And people notice, even if no one says it straight out loud. The cringe factor went through the roof when Trevor Noah brought up old clips that still make people flinch whenever they resurface. It's wild to see how far things have fallen. A prince showing up at red carpet premieres, pitching his wife's voiceover dreams to Disney execs. Back in the day, royal marriages built empires and shaped nations. Now it's about hustling for podcast deals and streaming gigs. The drop from global power to entertainment grinder is almost unreal. Simon Cowell didn't even try to play nice about it. He watched their full Netflix doc, probably hoping to understand where they were coming from. Big mistake. He started open-minded and ended completely fed up, admitting he liked them even less by the end. That's their strange talent, pushing people away fast. The sad part? They actually had solid points about misogyny and unfair treatment, issues that deserve serious talk. But they lost credibility with all the over-the-top self-promotion, sugary couple nicknames, and dramatized pity scenes.
They're totally lost. You know, one minute they're making a cartoon, then they're doing a documentary on them, now they're saving the world. They just haven't found their path in life.
Instead of sparking empathy, it just felt like another PR performance, and people saw right through it. Any bit of self-awareness vanished completely. Viewers online even joked about wanting to be labeled a security threat just to escape the irritation. That's how unbearable it got. Then Jimmy Kimmel came swinging, and hardly anyone in Hollywood ever dares to go there. Harry's memoir broke records for fastest-selling nonfiction book, but instead of praise, Kimmel roasted it live on primetime TV. Brutally, he turned it into a twisted parody children's book called The Prince and the Penis. And the jokes didn't stop there. He even mocked Harry's looks, comparing him to Screech, that awkward, goofy kid nobody ever wanted to be. It wasn't subtle shade, it was a full-on roast, and the audience loved it. Laughter filled the room as Kimmel tore through every headline. Then he went a step further, mocking the whole idea that Harry and Meghan moved to America, one of the loudest, most divided countries on race, to supposedly escape criticism. The crowd couldn't stop laughing. It was chaos in the best way. And that's when things really exploded. People started pointing out how the couple threw their own family under the bus, labeling them as racist to justify their royal exit. And that's when the real firestorm began. Jimmy Kimmel cracked open the door, and suddenly Hollywood stopped pretending. The polite silence was over. Everyone who'd been holding back for years finally started speaking up. And then Bill Maher stepped in and obliterated their entire victim narrative like no one else could. When Bill Maher calls you out, he doesn't sugarcoat or play nice. He doesn't care who gets offended. He said exactly what millions of viewers had been yelling at their screens for years. According to Maher, these two look straight into the camera and lie, expecting everyone to just swallow it. He called it not just annoying, but straight up insulting. They talk about wanting privacy but show up in every interview possible. They claim they're struggling financially while living in a $14 million mansion, and they act like the public's too blind to notice the contradictions. Maher didn't hold back. He said this wasn't just hypocrisy, it was gaslighting at its finest. Smiling, throwing around buzzwords about mental health and compassion, thinking it would cover everything up. His generational takedown hit like a hammer. He said this isn't just about one couple, it's a pattern. A whole new playbook where complaining equals courage, fragility equals bravery, and whining passes for strength. It's fake toughness hiding real weakness, and Hollywood finally stopped clapping for it. All that so-called activism started to look like one big performance, more about attention and cash than actually helping anyone.
You just strike me as creatures of that generation. You know, you're just fragile. Just take a hint from the Queen, the recently departed.
Never complain, never explain, and rarely be heard speaking.
And when Bill Maher, a die-hard liberal who usually defends every progressive cause, turns on you, that's when you know you've gone too far. Even the people who should have been on their side couldn't ignore the hypocrisy anymore. It's glaring, obvious, and honestly hard to stomach. Two of the most privileged people on the planet crying oppression, while the rest of the world's just trying to pay rent. It's wild. Comedians stopped softening the blows and started saying what everyone else had been too afraid to say out loud. Nobody hit harder than Godfrey. He went straight for the core of their biggest narrative, Meghan acting shocked about questions on race within the royal family. Godfrey said what everyone secretly thought but never dared to voice. that sometimes those questions were just basic human curiosity, yet Meghan twisted simple, ordinary moments into emotional ammo for her endless victim saga. Every casual inquiry about family or royal customs got spun into another oppression headline, and people finally started seeing through it. Sympathy turned to suspicion. Fast. Suddenly, every claim, every tearful speech, every look what I've been through story got picked apart under a microscope. The more they leaned into victimhood, the more the cracks in their narrative showed, and comedians weren't scared to expose it. But Godfrey wasn't done. He called out Meghan's latest sit-down with Jamie Kern-Lima, where she once again played the overwhelmed Duchess routine, stressed, busy, doing it all, as if the weight of the world was on her shoulders. The whole act felt recycled. Same poses, same tone, same "I'm trying my best" energy. Comedians tore into it mercilessly, clowning the fake relatability, the carefully staged photos, and the "I'm too busy for anyone" vibe. Then came the podcast nobody really listens to, the Duchess title she won't drop, and the subtle shade she keeps throwing at the very monarchy that gave her that platform in the first place. It's painfully transparent, and the jokes wrote themselves. The mockery didn't stop there. Every move she made turned into meme material. Even people who used to be in her circle began backing away quietly. The support dried up because everything she touched seemed to turn into drama. And who could forget that yoga studio scene? Meghan reportedly showed up expecting peace and quiet, but within minutes, the calm space turned into a spectacle. One person was there to relax. The other treated the room like a spotlight. It's the same pattern every time.
Meghan Markle has ruined your workout regime. Is this true? If so,
yes, she came into New York last weekend.
Yeah.
And she went to a yoga place called Moto Yoga, which is my yoga place. They have places in LA and New York. But now that she went there, everyone's going to want to go there.
Right.
And there's not going to be any room. It's going to be harder to get in.
Somehow, it always ends up being about her. Soon the resentment wasn't just from comedians, it spread everywhere. People online, fans, even other celebrities started losing patience. And when John Oliver, one of the most careful, thoughtful voices in late-night comedy, finally stepped in, it meant something big. When he takes aim, it's not just shade, it's a statement. He doesn't mock for laughs, he signals that the industry's done playing along. That kind of savage statement doesn't fade, it sticks for life. And it didn't stop there. The legendary British puppet show Spitting Image, famous for roasting politicians and A-listers for decades, jumped in and shredded them apart across the UK. One brutal line crushed their whole image. They tried to stay close enough to Oprah Winfrey to seem credible, yet cozy enough with paparazzi to stay famous, cashing in at every turn. Every move looks rehearsed, fake, and designed to squeeze out attention and money while pretending it's all authentic. But one comedian went even darker, touching on a what if nobody wants to say out loud. What if King Charles passes, and then, heaven forbid, disaster strikes with the next in line, leaving Harry and Meghan running the monarchy? That haunting scenario still gives people chills just thinking about it. Before that nightmare could settle in, the comedic hits kept flying. Nikki Glaser swung hardest, dropping the most savage line of all. Without Harry, Meghan is nobody. Just another forgotten actress fighting for reality TV scraps. Nikki didn't sugarcoat it. She said Meghan didn't marry a prince for love or destiny. She hit the jackpot plain and simple. Without that one-in-a-million marriage, Nikki joked, Meghan would probably be back in Canada doing mattress commercials. The crowd went wild, because deep down, that joke stung with a bit of truth. And the roast didn't stop there. Stephen Colbert jumped in next, dragging Meghan's clueless Duchess act, saying she played the innocent sheep wandering into royal life like she didn't know what castles or crowns meant. It was ruthless and hilarious. Then Colbert dropped the ultimate reality check, sharp, funny, and absolutely brutal. He tore apart her fake authenticity so hard, people joked the studio fire alarm should have gone off. According to Colbert, Meghan's wide-eyed, "I had no idea what royal life was" routine wasn't sweet. It was a comedy sketch waiting to happen.
The problem with it is people say, oh, you know, Harry and Meghan, you should let them do whatever they want. They should be allowed to do this. People think it doesn't make any difference, but it does make a difference. Because if something terrible happened to William and Kate and the kids, right? The Queen and Charles are very old. They're going to go at some stage. And then you're left with King Andrew. No one wants that.
Is that true? Because you've got a William, then you've got a Kate, then you've got a George, then you've got... There's loads of them.
Yeah, they're one light aircraft crash away.
Oh!
And just when everyone thought he was done, Colbert turned it up another notch, giving Meghan a sarcastic homework list of royals to Google, including her own husband, so she could finally learn what she'd actually signed up for. Legendary doesn't even begin to cover it. He roasted her from top to bottom, and the crowd howled. That's what happens when you talk big without doing your research. The authentic act burns up in its own spotlight. Then came Tim Dillon, and he went nuclear. Tim doesn't deal in polite jabs. He demolishes. He called Meghan the ultimate Real Housewife, and the line hit like a punch. He compared her whole public persona to reality TV, fake drama, victim tears, and paparazzi always close by. Only now, it's funded by royal money. Tim said nothing really changed. She just swapped basic cable for Netflix, slapped on a Duchess title, and started pretending it was high class. Same drama, same chaos, same spotlight addiction, just dressed up with royal branding. He called it what it was, a circus wearing a crown. And then Tim aimed straight at Harry and didn't blink. He claimed Harry's military deployment in Afghanistan was part PR move, part image-building stunt, designed to make him look gritty and relatable instead of like the pampered prince he actually was. He said Harry picked a war zone for headlines, knowing he'd be fully protected, and now he's back in California, crying about how traumatic his life has been. That line dropped the room into stunned silence before the laughter hit, because it was ruthless. The point was clear. To many, these two aren't misunderstood, they're manufactured. Hiding behind publicists, scripted statements, and perfect PR, they're running a brand, not living a truth.
Nobody is a realer housewife than Meghan Markle, who married this ginger retard and took him out of his racist family so that they could live in Beverly Hills or wherever the fuck they... Harry is an idiot. He signed up to fight in the Afghanistan war. That was a dumb move. You're a fucking prince. What are you doing that shit?
King Charles is getting older, and with William, Catherine, and their kids just one tragic twist away, the thought of Harry and Meghan being next in line suddenly stops feeling like a joke. It gets chilling. The same two people mocked for greed, drama, and tone-deaf moves could one day inherit the entire British monarchy and represent the UK on the global stage. People used to joke that King Andrew would be the ultimate nightmare, but King Harry with Queen Meghan? That's not just late-night comedy anymore. It's a real, uncomfortable possibility. This is the woman who once said having lunch with the actual queen felt like medieval torture, and the same man who cashed in on family secrets for a Netflix payout. Imagine those two holding the crown. It's wild. That's why all this mockery isn't just gossip. It's more like a public alarm bell. Every misstep, every exaggerated sob story, every reckless headline matters. Because whether people like it or not, they're still in the royal bloodline. If tragedy ever struck, no one could legally stop them from stepping into power. So maybe the comedians aren't just being cruel. Maybe they're exposing the bigger fear nobody wants to say out loud. What happens if the joke becomes real? Does that make all this laughter a warning? Stay tuned. We're diving even deeper next.